Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Productions. Today I'm back out being joined once again by Jake, Trevor, and like always, Fluff.
What's going on, y'all?
Hello!
What up, beautiful people?
And today's matchup is a continuation of where practically 95% of people at our locals this past weekend were being tryhards. Because we're been prepping for the TCG Con in the following weekend. We got Jake versus Trevor. Jake has brought out Vegeta and Trunks, while Trevor's bringing out Soul Striker Zamasu. Guys, take it away.
So, after losing the die roll and seeing how Trevor's turn one was going to go here, or went here, I wasn't really sure what to expect from, the gentleman's charge. I wasn't really sure what to expect from the rest of this matchup, but my goal was to just kind of play my game, which with this deck is to kind of spam the board. And if you guys have watched the channel for a long time, you know that I like to spam the board. So I'm already happy on turn one.
Yeah, I've kind of play tested against the Trunks Vegeta deck before the set came out, and I've experienced the flood that this deck can do. It gets kind of crazy, but just as a heads up, this match gets even crazier than I ever could have imagined when it comes to the flood, which has helped me decide how I'm going to sideboard for the TCG Con after playing against this and playing against some U7 decks. I already know what I'm siding to help alleviate the craziness that are these flood options for these two decks.
Yeah, and that was really unexpected. You dropping the Eliminator right there.
The tried and true blue-yellow way through things.
Yeah, shove it back in the hand. And then, I go ahead and elect to turn the trunk sideways there, because I feel like I've got a pretty good lock on you going into turn 3, because I feel like you're going to play a Unison and Awaken, so I kind of know what you're up to at this point.
Oh, absolutely. If a Soul Striker player goes into turn 3 and doesn't play a Unison, they probably don't have one. But Poutine is a card that has always troubled me, and it's still a card that troubles me. And I'm still awaiting the day that either this gets errata to not have barrier or gets removed from game. Even though everybody only runs it at a 1-of, so limiting it's not going to solve the issue that it presents, like certain decks that, try and play via skills or are counter heavy. So, which are most of the decks that I play. So it's the reason why it's so rough on me personally to try and play around. Especially with this deck in particular, the way I've built it really gets hammered by it. But Soul Striker alleviates that a little bit if I just play by turns properly. But with this being my first weekend play, or first week at all playing Soul Striker, you'll see I don't play my turns proper.
Soul Striker has, especially the blue-yellow Soul Striker with the God package, has a fantastic way to play against Poutine, where most of the cards that you're playing, you're just hard casting out. And the cards that do ultimately get tapped by Poutine, you don't mind so much that they get tapped. Like the Zamasu, the Eliminator, you don't care if that card gets tapped. It's not until you go into your late turns that you're going to try to play. I'm assuming you're running like the Arrival Zamasu package and stuff like that.
So I'm not running the Arrival Zamasu because without Great Priest, it's terribly expensive.
Yes.
Instead, I'm running the 5-drop Fuse Zamasu Union Patara. For several reasons, the main one being red so popular, having 24 power instead of 20 power makes it a lot more sticky. Because 20 with Indestructible is easily removed in red, 24 is a little bit harder. So that's why I elected to use that outside of the fact that I'm not running the Great Priest Unison in this build. Which is the main reason why I chose to run Baby instead of Great Priest for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And, what's going on here is that he God Seals the 8-drop I'm trying to play, but since the 8-drop gets played before the Vegeta and Trunks get placed underneath it, I actually get to keep my 1-drops after the God Seal.
Yep.
Which is just a interesting way it's worded, and I think they did that on purpose for keeping this engine alive. Like if you were to go for it and then it get counterplayed, you're not losing any resources. Yeah, you had to pay 2 energy for it. Now your energy's lessened, but outside that, you're still good enough to still push or protect.
Yeah, you're still in good shape as far as your board state. And I feel like it was smart on Bandai's part to not give the card deflect, to kind of make your opponent want to counterplay it.
Well, it is the risky play for the deck, putting that 8-drop out. Like, there's a lot of instances where you don't even want the 8-drop. You want to keep the Vegeta and the Trunks on the field by themselves. And then going into the 8-drop is almost a feels bad, plus it opens up a huge punish window.
Oh, for sure. I kind of feel like you have to be really calculated about when you play it, but if you can utilize the card correctly, it's absolutely punishing.
And the amount of battle cards in this Trunks Vegeta deck that have barrier makes it to where you can't even remove them in most instances, especially not as a blue player, because so little gets around barrier inside of blue. So he's able to just keep these guys on board, whereas with that activate main where it happens after he comes into play that they're placed under him, it's fine. But if it was like a Union Patara or then it wouldn't work, because then those cards would go to the drop and that'd just be the end of it. So
Yeah.
Even worse, in the case of blue, any of the things that would remove the barrier cards are likely to put them back in hand, which for the EX Evolve targets and Trunks Vegeta just loads the gun so they get their extra draws again. Like, this deck really likes it when you clear off its battle cards, because it just gives you an opportunity to play the weenies off the leader, which opens up new windows for you to activate counter skills or EX Evolve skills.
So you can draw more cards.
Yeah, like clearing the field against Trunks Vegeta is a very counterintuitive play style against this deck, which I think is why this deck has been successful at our locals, because, you know, a lot of the players at our locals, Jake included, is a really big fan of clearing that field out if possible.
Oh yeah, like we've talked about previously on the channel, I like to keep the board clean, which is not happening in this matchup. I think if you count tokens, there's over 15 battle cards on this board right now.
yeah,
Let's see,
it's
5
pretty wild.
tokens. Yeah, it's close.
Especially if you count the targets underneath your evolves.
Yeah, not counting those. I've got 5, 6 with Pan. Yeah, that's huge.
But Trunks Vegeta really thrives in a field like this. Like, this is the type of field that it likes to play against.
Oh, for sure. Although, I don't like playing through this Apocal Schemer, I will tell you that.
Yeah, a Booney Plus.
Yeah. It's like somebody paid $29.99 a month for their Oboonies, and we got Apocal Schemer.
What was like Bandai looked at a Booney and said, you know what? This card's not good enough. Let's make a better version.
Seriously.
Yeah, I guess it all kind of depends on how you look at it. The Obuni has, the ability to keep itself on board longer with its protection from being removed by skills by getting rid of the tokens. Tokens are stronger with Obuni for offensive purposes, whereas this one is no protection once it hits the board, and then blocker 10Ks, which if
you get 4 blockers.
You get 4 blockers. Yes.
When it is nice that they have combo power. I'd say they're equivalent in strength, but they're good in different ways.
Yeah.
So at this point, my goal is to just try and grind through these tokens and spend as little resource as possible. I've only got 1 energy left, and I really don't want to spend it during my turn.
Yeah, and here I'm kind of trying to protect the unison if possible. I believe I have 1 in hand, so I can just load under and then -5 on my following turn to really open up my options, because I have a stupid fat hand at this point. So I'm just kind of using all the blockers that I can to try and protect him. But with how wide he's gotten, it's just harder and harder to make it happen.
Yeah, even with the extra energy.
Yeah, that's a rough position to be in, especially if you're counting on that -5 for, your kill or your next line of plays or defense. If you plan on like having to mostly tap yourself out during your next turn, losing that ability to go -5 really hurts.
Yeah, honestly, I was really scared of Baby Ape because he can get through the barrier and come at me triple strike. I have a lot of resting effects, but once you play through that, I don't really have a lot of defense options with 1 energy.
And I will say real quick, for those of you who are curious, a cheap card that plays a cheap card will trigger that card's effect if you get it off before you do anything big like that, or even just simply if you have it overwhelm to proc those abilities. That way, when you go into your bigger, more threatening cards, there's no autos affecting them.
Yeah, it's a great way to play around it.
In blue, I'm a really big fan of Calamity Challenger Goku for baiting Poutine taps. Because it only costs you 1 energy, and in Soul Striker, 1 energy is non-relevant. Like, it doesn't phase you at all. And, like, the Calamity Challenger at least replaces itself in hand, even if you don't get to utilize its 15k body or its blocker ability before it gets removed. It'll bait out the Poutine to open up the rest of your turn.
Yeah. Here, his trunks rests my schemer, and then one of my tokens get rested off of Poutine.
Well, actually, I think I rest the other schemer. Yeah, with Poutine.
With Calamity Challenger, it's great for that purpose. I think with me being relatively new with Soul Striker, I always tried really hard to always make sure I had the 2 cards restood. So if I'm only tapping 1 for that spirit boost, then I feel like the rest of my hand is kind of limited in that sense, because then I'll have to spend further after that if I don't have enough options for energy costing wise.
Yeah, you can't exactly min-max
Right.
if you're playing 1 for stuff, unless you pay 2 things that cost 1, and Calamity Challengers limit 1, so...
But if a Poutine is shutting you down and going to tap down the card that you're trying to play, it's a great way to bait through that effect and keep your essentially the majority of your turn's tempo going.
Right. And this last turn I had a terrible misplay and swung with a battle card before I swung with my leader. Leader got rested. Never do this against a yellow player.
Yeah.
Expect his Zamasu super combo to come out, and then it just completely ruins the rest of my flow of my turn. So I just play ultra crazy defensive, basically.
Yeah, big punish there.
Yeah, especially once you tap the majority of your energy for the schemer. I was really hoping you would swing with a battle card first, and I could use the Cheat Life super combo to rest your leader down. Which, I mean, you still have Dean, but you would have had way more energy here had that went more in your favor.
Yeah, I'd be at 4 here as opposed to 2. Much better position to be defensively. But I have tons of blockers. Can make use of those as I need them.
What secret rare are you running by chance? Are you on hatch?
Yeah, I'm running a hatch. I don't think I've seen it at this point, so it's not an option. But it is the SCR I'm running.
Yeah. Which I think it has to be.
Yeah. In blue, it's just it's hard to argue against it in any kind of capacity.
I don't know. I lost against Son Goku Oob this weekend.
Oh no.
Felt pretty bad, man. Felt pretty bad.
I mean,
Hey,
it rips
that's-
your life out. What are you gonna do against
Yeah,
that?
that's my spice. You can't feel bad about that.
Yeah, I went from 4 life to 0 life in the span of 2 turns.
Dang.
So
The Zamasu was huge there, resting the pan. You were down to 3 there, and I was trying to push even further.
yeah, the whole time I was so worried about this pan taking one of my cards. Because that's in my head, that's what it does. Even though I know it also has the crazy good counterattack effect as well. Which Jake mentioned after the match. He's like, I didn't even think about the fact that I could tap 1 and take one of your Apocal Schemers instead of just removing it.
Yeah. It
And,
never even crossed my mind.
So
Well, if I'm Jake in this position, I'm going to try to bait a Golden Avenger so I can take the Golden Avenger with Pan, right?
Yeah.
No, go on.
No, continue.
That was it.
Yeah, I'm honestly pretty worried about Golden Avenger because it's one of the few things I know he can use to remove my barrier cards. But I think, I don't know if it's this turn or next turn, he presents me with a problem that I'm not expecting. Here it is, right here. This large boy.
yeah, so I built the entire deck to play this card. And I still felt underwhelmed by this card, even when I only pay 2 energy for him.
So talk about what this card does.
So he is an EX Evolve on top of a Zamasu, energy cost 5. I think it specifies blue, but I think there's also only 5 cost blue Zamasus anyway. He is a double strike blocker. He has Aegis. And when you activate Aegis, you draw a card, restand him, and restand 1 blue or yellow energy. That's the Aegis effect. And you restand your blue or yellow, 2 of your blue or yellow energy. So then his blocker's live at that point. And he's 35k indestructible. So he's blocking anything and he's not dying from it.
So it's really the same value as a Violent Rush Bojack for 4 times the investment.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah. You do get the blocker, but the fancy thing about playing against yellow is Vegeta's Final Flash is the thing, which ruined my entire turn, turned me off this card so fast, never want to play it ever again. Because you lose Aegis because you never enter the defense step. You lose the indestructible, so he'll die afterwards if they combo high enough. And it's just the end of it. Or he gets removed by a Vegeta.
I don't know how many times I won a game against a blue-yellow player because I was able to Final Flash Bojack while they were tapped out and then just finish up the rest of my turn as normal.
Yeah. Not have to worry about Aegis. I'm sure it's a move you pulled on me back in my Son Gohan days.
It was.
Yeah. So I guess I'm learning a little bit and implementing it here.
Well, you never tapped out against me after that.
Yeah, I got a little spooky. So here I'm comboing heavy on this Poutine just to try and push some kind of damage through, because I know blue has enough power to get through just about everything. And then here I use my last 2 energy to go into the 8 drop and activate the effect to get a little bit more combo power.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had this Zamasu in hand for this card, and then when he turned off my Aegis, I was like, that's it. That's game at that point. He would have won regardless because he forgot to restand his units at the beginning of the turn, but
Oh, yeah.
it was still a learning experience, so I appreciate the game regardless.
I was sitting there the entire time like, he forgot something, but this is supposed to be an important match, so I'm not going to say anything. With that being said, thank you for opportunity. Keep my buttons down below and on the screen while Fluff does the outro.
Cool match with 2 cool decks. Love seeing both of those decks. Congrats, Jake, on taking the win there. Everyone, make sure to read your cards, know your plays. Let us make the mistakes so that you don't have to. And as always, Fluff out.